You have to have a blonde guy wearing a mask, and I
Yeah.
think Unicorn is the one that made me just like quit Gundam for a long while.
Hello and welcome to another damn anime podcast. My name is Nick and I'll be your host. Here with me is my good buddy Joe. Joe, how you doing today?
Doing all right, man. Doing all right. How about you, man? How's the weather down by you?
It's beautiful. It's gorgeous actually. Like not quite 80 till the end of the afternoon. So 65 to 75 through most of the day. Dry, sunny. It's pretty nice. It's supposed to rain though. But I did my taxes today. So I'm in a bad mood
Well, because you owe now.
because I have to pay money. So,
How is that possible, man? You just put yourself as zero, and you're a single dude. Just zero it out. You pay a little bit, and then you give the government an interest-free loan, and then you get some money back in the end, guaranteed.
so last year I got like $900 back, a little less than not the $900 back. Um, but um, but also last year before we started these podcasts, I I don't know. I don't know how much I should be saying about this, but I think it's fine. I got laid off from my job, and so I applied for unemployment along with like literally like a third of the country or something. So and I was late to the party on that too. So I didn't get any money for like a long time. And then so I got my new job and I worked that for like 6 months, and then in the new year of 2022 at the time. So this was actually 2021, and then in the new year 2022 is when I finally, out of the blue, got the unemployment money, and I was like, "Oh, cool!" And so now I'm having to pay taxes on that, and I was like, "How much can it really be?" I think it's like, I think they taxed me for like half of it. It's insane. I was like, I can't freaking believe this. So now I get to pay in. Um, I just, I was just like, well, it's probably going to be fine. I'll probably still get a couple $100 back. But nope, not the case. So yeah, I guess it was all worth it. I guess it was all
Dude,
worth it in
I
the end.
I file single zero. I'm married and have two kids. I pay. It's like they take away a bit of taxes, but at the same time, I'm guaranteed a hefty return.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to make this like tax cast, but like I think that I've heard like pro tax people say that I mean, it's easier to do it that way, what the way you're talking about, but like I think pro tax people say you don't want to do that because, like you said, you're giving the government like an interest free loan. They're keeping more money that you could be using to put in a bank account or invest or whatever. But I mean, for people that make not tons and tons of money, the amount is like so negligible that you would actually be able to do something with that. It's not even worth the headache. So
Well, that and the fact that my spouse then claims, she claims married with the kids, but if I claim the kids and she claims the kids at the same time, uh, it potentially can cause us to pay in the end. So it just gets messy. So I'm like, all right, I'll just get my paycheck, reamed a little bit more, and therefore it's just like we're guaranteed to get money back, and plus we're pretty much already, especially with the price of like we get so much for daycare and other crap. The year before when we got when our daughter was born, we made bank. We
yeah,
really got a great tax return that year. It was pretty awesome. This one we did pretty good for ourselves, but at the same time, it's like yay. But that only like this is enough for a handful of months of daycare. Okay, when you put it like that, it's pretty depressing.
yeah, but it's better to have those handful of months than to not have those handful of months of daycare. But anyway, enough about adulting. Let's talk about childish nonsense. Call it like anime. So yeah, so what have you been watching, Joe, that you're excited to talk about?
Well, I ended up binge watching like 5 episodes of Nagatoro season 2, and That was dubbed, of course, just because I don't have the time for it. Subbed, but no, my like
I
couple
watch it
days this
dubbed too. It's good.
yeah, well, a couple days this last week, we ended up spouse and I ended up just chilling and watching a few episodes each day, and it was a good time. Yeah, I've been following this manga for a really long time, actually.
Yeah,
The last maybe 6 months, I've stopped reading it, but I picked it back up, and I'm like, oh, I'm only like a handful of chapters behind. I'm not very far, but as far as they are in the story, they're probably at least 1 to 2 seasons ahead. So technically, if they did a season three, probably a season four, you'd probably be caught up in season four to where they are in the manga right now. So there's a bit more story there, and it's all really funny and entertaining. I know you were going through season one and you were having a hard time because it was like the cringe worthiness of being picked on and stuff like that.
dude, those first two episodes go pretty hard. They really are trying to get your attention. After that, I'm on like I think I'm in the middle of episode 7 or something of that first season, and it's lightened up quite a bit. It's like okay, but maybe I've just calloused. My mind is just calloused to the abuse, and I've gotten used to it. But when the other two girls kind of come in a lot more, and you sort of see some of the way that Miss Nagatoro acts, it's like okay, this is it gets a little sweeter. It's not quite so raunchy and depraved. It's a little bit nicer. But did they name her? Did the guy name her Nagatoro so he could do the whole nya thing, the whole like cat girl thing?
No, it's her family name. Nagatoro is supposed to be her family name. Hayase is her given name.
I know that Nagatoro is a real family name that is hers, but whenever she has like the cat superhero suit on, and she
I forget
goes,
how early they show that.
that's like that's like episode I don't know 4 maybe. It's pretty early, but I was like, did you name her Nagatoro so you could like have her be a like Miss Nyagatoro or whatever?
Well,
Uh,
they give her a cat persona, anyways, and later
I
on,
guess so.
there's more to deal with it. There's a school festival, contest, and stuff like that. So,
I
uh,
I
yeah,
sense
I
it.
mean,
I sense it.
so it's like season one is pretty good. Season two starts to get a little more romantic, and by season three, or like later in the comic series, you're like, yep, just shut up and get married already. So,
So,
it's good though.
do you think they'll probably do about 4 seasons? You think?
Three
Or,
for sure. I mean, at least I'm
or they have?
the
I
fact
guess what
that
I mean to say is they have 4 seasons worth of material from the manga
I
right
think
now.
so.
Okay.
Yeah, especially by the time they get to a season four, there's going to be more on top of this. I mean, you kind of feel that the series is coming to an end, because at this point, I mean, he's in season one, he's already a second year, and so by the time where he's at, he's kind of in the comics, he's facing the end of he can see the end of his senior year, so his third year of high school, and I doubt they'd really continue much beyond that. So you kind of feel like that's kind of where it would end,
Yeah.
or at least it'd be appropriate spot, and it'd be nice to have an actual like hard ending. But they've been showing time passing, so
I mean,
you know
I mean, you say that, but like, you could have a whole new level of torture based on like jailbait and stuff like that, like where he's of age and like she's not, and that would just make it like way worse if they wanted to go that way.
yeah,
A
there's
d-
a different
idea about that over
manga
there.
that there was something kind of similar. It was a senpai kohai thing as well.
Okay.
Um, and it came out after Nagatoro, but it gets funny because I think it got animated first, and they blew through 2 seasons, and haven't heard word from it since. But I always felt that it was a cheaper knockoff. I mean, the jokes were very similar. It was the uh, Uzaki-chan wants to hang out, and it's the same thing though. It's like she goes to a university with and she runs into her senpai, and she starts to want to hang out. He's just like, no, we were in like club together. He's like, you're annoying. I don't want to hang out with right now. I want
Mm.
to do my own thing. And then she starts saying like she'll blurt out, yell out stuff in the middle of the street, being like, after all we've been through together in high school or something like that, or and out of all the things you've done to me, you're just gonna leave me here, and like everyone starts staring. It's fine, just shut up and we'll hang out. So it's a lot of the similar, that style of humor. Um, I think if I remember correctly, they often have her with like a tight shirt, and and it's like that's kind of her like style. Like it's funny if it's like the kind of the same kind of funny, but I was already kind of committed to like I'm like, oh, I don't need to read another one of these things right now, so I'm just gonna stick with Nagatoro. And but yeah, they did 2 seasons already, so
Yeah,
if you want more stuff and if you want to kind of harden your soul for cringiness, then there you go. Um, because I even think it's her shirt used to say Dekai on it, uh, being big. Um, it might have said something else above it too, but it was just funny because I'm like, yeah, go figure. They know the artist knew what he was doing. Um, so yeah.
it's one of
Anyways,
those
Nagatoro
anime.
season 2, pretty good. It's coming to an end. The Japanese is supposed to be coming to an end soon. They just did episode 10. They've done 7 episodes of the dubbed, and that's currently what I'm on.
Yeah,
So yeah.
yeah, we are getting close to the end of this season. A lot of shows are getting we're 3 or 4 weeks away from a lot of shows wrapping up. And then I just saw a thing. I think it's been known for a little while probably, and I just haven't paid attention. But uh, the final season, part 2 of Attack on Titan is about to come out. So I'll be watching that. But I also found out that that's gonna also have another part 3 in the fall. So they're saying that it's going to end for real this time in the fall. So I was kind of like, oh, cool! I finally get to see the end of Attack on Titan. And then I was like, oh wait, it's not gonna be done until the fall. So I was like, gosh, I mean, it's only I don't know how excited you can really get about it when it's just like kind of dragging on and on and on like this. But you know,
Yep, I'm not excited at all. But then again, I kind of gave up on the series. See, like before season 3.
oh yeah,
I'm trying to even remember what season I was on. I mean, the big secret was out. They found out who were the Titans that destroyed the wall, and then uh, they were kidnapped for a bit. I'm trying to remember what else happened. I'm like, they were
it
starting to venture
it
outside the
really
wall.
does feel like they just don't want this money grab to end. Like they're just like, and I think they want to. I know there was a lot of people who had problems with the end of the manga, which I don't know what that end was, but people didn't like it. Um, a good proportion of people didn't like it really at all, and there's been talk about them fixing it in the anime or changing it with the author's blessing or help or whatever.
See,
Um,
I remember the authors, I remember that they talked about doing that with like season 3 or 4. They're like, yeah, we're sorry, the manga kind of didn't go too well, so we're gonna fix it in the anime. And I'm like, all right, well, I'll worry about it when the series is done, and then I'll watch everything else. So that was like years ago. They talked about trying to fix things. So I guess they're trying to fix more.
no, no, they're still. I think they're still on that set. They're still trying to fulfill that promise. They're just also trying to make the series last as long as possible, so they can make as much money as possible off of you know the ads and the merch and all that stuff. So I think that all that is still wrapped up in the same thing. But it's whatever, man. Like we'll just it's a good show, and the characters are good and all that stuff. So I'm like, well, it's fine. But I do want to just have to. I want to stop being it. I want to be able to stop thinking about it. Um, and that's not going to happen until basically 2024. So yeah. Anyway, but for me, I know that you started watching last time we talked Gundam, Witch from Mercury,
Yeah,
and
I only really saw the first episode,
oh
and that
really?
was back when it came out in Japanese. I just didn't. It's one of those things that committing to a new Gundam series. takes a while for me because they're hit and miss. This one's supposed to be a good one, but it's just I really like the concept of Gundam. Unfortunately, they fail at like half of them.
Yeah. Oh, I thought that you had watched like more of this. I thought that you had watched like, half or something like that. Okay.
Nah,
Well, are you planning on watching a lot more of it?
you can go ahead and spoil bits of it. I don't, yeah, I
I
don't care.
I haven't watched very
I
much.
will watch it. I will watch it when it gets completely dubbed at this rate. But
I
yeah,
think it is
like the
fully
last,
dubbed now.
it's only like a few episodes. I'm pretty sure.
I am watching it dubbed, and
Okay.
I have up to I think episode 12 or whatever available to me. So yeah, I watched episode 0, which is a prologue, and then I watched episode 1, 2, and 3. So I've watched a total of 4 episodes. I don't really know why. I mean, like narratively, I kind of understand why they call that 0 episode a prologue, but it's also like just call it episode 1 because the info in it seems pretty important to me. Um, anyway, I guess that's just how they decided to do it. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah. Currently, all I'm seeing is up to episode 5. If you don't include the prologue,
okay.
dubbed currently. So
Well,
I mean, they're all 12 episodes are subbed. So I mean, you have a full season right there. But so I'm not sure how if you're on Crunchyroll. I'm
Crunchyroll.
assuming.
Yeah, I'm on Crunchyroll. I think Crunchyroll, they're in the credits. So I don't know if they were added in later or whatever, but maybe they had something to do with it. But I mean, it's a really well drawn, well designed anime, and the animation itself is really good. I really like it. Colors are awesome. It uses CG appropriately, nicely. I think with like a more techie anime, you can get away with more CG. And the CG is definitely better than like something like Near, which I don't hate a ton of it, but it definitely pops out pretty bad in Near, and this they do a really good job of hiding it the best way possible. So like all that stuff, like the way that it looks is great. Everything about the way that it looks is great. All the adult characters are pretty cool, and the story itself is like, all right, this is a pretty good take on a Gundam story. I'm down with this. But the two main girls, man, okay, the main girl, the actual witch from Mercury, the redheaded one, Sutella, she's okay. As like a 4-year-old, she was annoying, but then as like a teenager or whatever she is, she's not horrible, but she is still kind of annoying. She's a bit she's a bit of a Mary Sue, so I don't really appreciate that, but otherwise she's not horrible. But the white-haired girl, Miorine, is really really annoying. Maybe she's not as annoying in Japanese. I don't know. I'm only watching it dubbed, but in English, like she's like stuck up and weak and says dumb things and does dumb things. Like a lot in episode 1 and 2. Episode 3, she's like in it less and not quite as bad, but and her haircut is would be okay. It would be like anime. It would be like anime. I don't know, dumb, but in a kind of a cool way. If she had a cool personality, but because she has a crappy personality, that's annoying. Her haircut like makes it even more annoying. So like I was like watching. I was like, okay, this isn't bad. This isn't bad. And then she like pops up, and I was like, what are we doing here? And then there's this guy that they have to fight with and stuff, and that takes up the first 3 episodes of episodes 1, 2, and 3 after the prologue, and he's really annoying, and he has like brown hair and like a pink fluff on the front, and it just makes it even worse. Um, so like, I don't know what to do with this show. It's it's a decent story as opposed to script. Like it's a decent story with a ton of money and competence put behind it, and just the script of the people and the things that they're actually saying is irritating. And I don't know.
So from what little I've seen, it's like by far like the cutest Gundam that's been around for a while. They made the girl characters more moe,
They're
hands
pretty moe,
down.
yeah.
And the art is very vibrant for sure. It's it's different to have like the lead be female and for the cast to be kind of like set up like this. Um, I don't know. It's just I feel like they've really kind of jumped around a lot trying to find themselves with a new Gundam franchise. Uh, the last one I really got into was Blood, or was that Blood Orphan? I think it was called. Um, and uh, that one was really, I thought that Gundam series was actually pretty good. The first season, second season, they kind of lost me. It just they were getting really convoluted, and long story short, it was a good take on the whole child soldiers, and then they kind of crossed it with a yakuza story. Um, Except for their like mercenary group, they're joining a faction, and more or less they're joining their low level like gang, joining a large mafia faction.
Yeah.
So they have the whole brother Anarchy hierarchy, and they had a really good banger of a opening theme. Um, yeah, like that was one of my more favorite opening themes I've had in a long time, especially since like it had the right dumb English in it. It had just enough English for you to follow along, but at the same time, it just like who's coming up with these lyrics? I don't know, but it's great. I yeah, that's but anyways, it's totally worth a watch. And I know they came out with some other ones afterwards, and I'm like, I gave them a little watch. And I'm like, you know what? Like I
I
said,
mean, the
every
like,
other or every third Gundam series is pretty good, but there's a lot of not so good ones out
well,
there.
like the '90s and 2000s were just saturated. I mean, even back to the '80s, like we're just saturated with Gundam stuff. I mean, there was so many that came out over those decades that pretty much. I mean, that they tried a bunch of different kinds of stories, and a lot of them were successful, and a lot of them were not successful. And I think the thing where Gundam gets in trouble is when you have you have like they have the same problem as Star Trek, where Star Trek is interesting as long as they're like in space doing stuff, but when you go into the council room where there's a like a big round, half table, and they're up high, and they're talking about stuff with politics and stuff like that, like that's when it gets to be really bogged down, and like what are we doing here? This is really boring. And a lot of the Gundam series do go that route, but this one seems to be doing a pretty good job of balancing that, because they have like the kids. So the kids are like fighting and doing cool stuff, and then the adults are doing boring stuff, but they're also like grounding the show in like the bigger picture of like, oh, this is important because politics is important. And the kids like, we don't care about these stupid politics, we're just gonna fight. And it's like, well, you kind of have to, because here's why. And then they like battle through it, or whatever. But they're able to sprinkle it in pretty well. And so I think that's what's good about this series. Like it's not bad. It's just, man, those characters are just irritating. But I think that if we get one Gundam-ish thing, because I think the Gundam series sort of, the idea of Gundam became that like political boring intrigue, um, or
Well,
f-
Gundam's always had the political aspect of it. That's the thing. It was literally kind of
that's what I'm
birthed
saying.
from that. So I mean, I think Gundam's actually pretty solid on the early fronts up until honestly the late '90s. It's not until like the mid aughts that Gundam starts like really jumping the shark because well, it depends on which timeline you go down to because there's two, if not three timelines. And so therefore, if you when you start the series, you gotta have to quick look up a chart. Okay, which timeline am I in, so I can reset my brain to realize am
Mm,
I in. So that's kind of that. concept. As far as uh, I mean, sometimes their offshoots are like the funniest and dumbest things, like the SD Gundams. The SD Gundams were a stupid like side story where and then you'd have like Romance of the Three Kingdoms as Gundams and stuff like that as well. Uh, I think Gundam Seed is still, I think around that era is when it started kind of jumping the shark. G
That's
Gundam
so funny.
was so fucking dumb, but it was so great.
So
I absolutely love G Gundam. It's a ridiculousness, but it's like, what if you took Dragon Ball and mashed it with Gundam, and that's what you get. You get it's just a straight up fighting tournament, and everyone's just over the top OP. And yes, I love it.
there's
It's a great one.
there's this girl I knew in college, and her favorite show was Gundam Seed, second to Gundam Seed Destiny. And she was like, "You should watch this." And I started to watch it one time, and I was like, "I think that this is not for me." Like, yeah, I was like, "I'm sure it looks cool, it looks fine, but it seemed very um, not masculine." I don't know how else to put it. It just didn't seem like something that I really wanted to watch.
Well,
Um,
see, Gundam Seed. I'm trying to remember. I don't remember the name of um the artist, but I'm fairly certain they did Scride. Scride was a kind of cool piece of sci-fi
mm,
anime where it's kind of a quasi like not quite post-apocalyptic, but it's like a rundown future, and people have like uh special abilities, uh, and it gives you armor essentially. You
okay.
kind of get like special, depending on what your skill set is. So everyone has a special superpower. The main guy is he has essentially a super punch. He gets armor on his fist and he can just wail on people really hard. That's about it. And as he evolves, it gets better. Um, it's but that's I think that that was the character design, and then that became really popular. That was the first thing they did, and then they started making a lot of anime in that exact mold. Like you look at it, and like these are the same. You didn't even try to make a new character. You
Uh,
just literally just changed their hair color, and boom, now you have a new character for a different series, and that's what really bothered me. Gundam Seed, yeah, I just really there was something about that one I just didn't click with either.
yeah.
Um,
But
so yeah,
yeah, I mean, I just wish that Gundam didn't have to be, because I think you're right. Like, that political side of it has always been part of Gundam, and I think they feel like they can't let go of that. Uh, and I think that they should probably try a little bit harder to let go of that in order to kind of move on and maybe make something. But there's been so much of it. It's like, I don't know, but just
well, when they start, they keep on rehashing the same crap. Where it's like BioShock, where you have to have a lighthouse. You have to have a girl to rescue. Well, in this case, it's you have to have a Char copied motherfucker. You like seriously this you have to have a blonde guy wearing a mask. And I
yeah.
think Unicorn is the one that made me just like quit Gundam for a long while. I just saw this dude and I'm like, I you need to die, and I'm just done with this. I just walked away.
Can't
And
do
so
this
Unicorn
anymore.
got me so angry. But you said Iron Blood Orphan. That is a really solid Gundam. At least season one. Season two also got more political and just more. I don't know. I felt like they were lost. They didn't have
Yeah.
enough direction. They literally take the main characters and kind of hide them away for a while, and like let's follow these other people, and we're setting it up so they can have a hard time, and that way our heroes can come in. And it was just like, all right, it's you're losing me again. But I really like the early Gundams up until like Wing and
I've
like G
always
Gundam, all that stuff.
I've always wanted to go back and watch those. Because but just kind of as a piece of uh anime history, but it's a lot to digest. I even looked up one time on Reddit like how to do it, and some people were like, just here's some OVAs to do on some of those. If you want to do everything, do this, and this. But really, they were just like, just digest these OVAs, and you'll save yourself a lot of time and pretty much get the same thing.
The
Um,
Gundam movies, if you can't watch the first, couple seasons or whatever, just watch the Gundam or the first, whole series. There's like three movies that kind of uh give you the gist. It's like the abridged version
yeah,
of the Gundam series, and they're not bad. But if you wanted to watch some, shorter series, I'd say the eighth MS team. That
oh
one's a
yeah,
good one. 83 Stardust Memory. That one was pretty good if I remember correctly. Uh, it's those are like side stories. They're kind of like some of those are their own thing. So I'd recommend those. Um, there's a there's quite a few other ones depending on I guess what you're into. I'm partial to Gundam Wing, but that's because that really kind of was the first breakout in our generation.
Gundam Wing was.
Um,
I mean, I just remember that movie caught my eye as
Endless
a
Waltz.
kid.
Yep.
Yeah, I was like, holy shit, this is wild. It was just really really cool, just really good looking anime. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's the Gundam Wing section. That's pretty much the only like new thing I've picked up. I have been keeping up with the other stuff, but we're getting long into the season, so it's like, how much more can you talk about some of this stuff?
Funny
But
enough, they actually started dubbing some stuff that's been out for a while now. So uh, Urusei Yatsura, the old it's an the old classic anime like by the Ranma creator, if I remember correctly, and Inuyasha creator.
right,
They started redoing it in 2022, and it's not quite done yet in Japanese, if I'm correct. But they just dubbed like the first two episodes. So I'm like, wow, you're a little bit behind now, but at least they're getting dubbed. So,
that's good. Yeah,
and I started rewatch. I rewatched the first couple episodes in Japanese last year, and I was like, yeah, this is good, but I'm not gonna spend my time on it right now. And so I might give it a shot once I get a few more episodes in, or when some of these other ones start clearing up, because there is quite a bit I'm watching. Then they started also. I mentioned it when it got released. I'm pretty sure, in it was Japanese, but season two of or it's the stupid long title, the Misfit, the Misfit Demon King in the Academy second season, history of the strongest Demon King resurrected. Some stupid ass thing. I'm so tired of these names. Anyways. Season one was good, but it kind of got ridiculous. Season two, they're just like, yeah, just full bore. Like, we're just gonna make you the first couple of episodes are dubbed, and they're like, all right, new all powerful being, and boom, done. Okay, he won. All right, next episode, another all powerful team. Oh no, everyone's in trouble. Boom, nope, never mind, they're not in trouble. They're done. It's just like it's kind of funny how they're just like, all right, we're just gonna up the stakes, and then boom, we're done. So it's I don't know. It started off really funny, season one, and then by the time season one ended, you're like, all right, yeah, you're just another one of these things. So it started strong, ended kind of meh, and it passed the manga. So it was one of those ones where like, well, cool. I spent like a year plus reading this manga, and you already finished it in one season of anime. Well, I guess I'm never picking this up again. And then they're like, oh wow, they're getting a season two. I can't believe it. Well, I'm most definitely not gonna try to read this one. So yeah, now that it's in dubbed, I'm gonna give that a shot, I guess.
all right, that's cool. I'm glad that's still good. I wish that name was shorter, but this is the age in which we live, and we just have to deal with it. So remember that anime that you bounced on really quick called Revenger?
Yeah, to the opposite, the shortest title you could possibly try to get. Yeah,
So yeah, we're gonna. Speaking of long
I bounced
titles,
out like 10 minutes in, man. Not even.
so I watched the whole first episode, and then recently I watched the second episode. And in the second episode, they explained the title. So I didn't like I speak some Japanese, but I didn't know this. I'm sure anybody that was watching this in Japanese, natively would have gotten it instantly. But so like Rebenji is like knickknacks or like whatever kind of stuff, like random stuff. And yeah is what you put at the end of something like that to make it a store. So the name of the group, the name of the people like they start this, so that they call it like a rebenja, and so it's supposed to be this, the front is this store that sells like whatever crap, but because it's English for like someone that, it's not even a real word, but in English ishness, it's someone who does revenge. They're actually like a avenging club, and I was just like, that's why you named it Revenger. Okay.
Oh yeah,
It's
I preferred Get Backers. I mean, at least they were upfront about what it was. Yeah. So
I
if you ever
mean,
get a chance to, Get Backers is a was a very late '90s anime. It was just like
that's a
the
cooler
style,
name.
like they were pretty cool at the time, and then you're like the rest of the series, like you didn't really go anywhere, did you?
Yeah. I also managed to finish dadgummit. What is that show with the girl with the guitars? I didn't have to think of it. I wouldn't be missing it from my brain. Um,
Girl with the guitars,
the girl club, and they have a band.
Mochi Rock, Mochi
Yeah.
the Rock.
Yes.
They also say the title in that one. She literally says, yeah, and I was like,
Mochi
oh, you did the
Tarak.
thing where you have to say the title.
Yeah. I finished that. That was good. It started strong, and I was like, oh man, this is pretty good. And it stayed about there, but I guess it sort of flagged a little bit for me. So I was gonna give it like an 8, but I ended up giving it like a 7, which is pretty much where I land on almost everything nowadays.
I can
But
see that, but man, they have some of those key moments, and whenever they show like her in like the puppet form or some of the weird art styles they choose, it is like
she's like,
very outside the box, and it's just like wow. I applaud them for being creative on that front.
and
Um,
then, like when there's like one time where she gets embarrassed and like kicked across the screen, and there's like all these CG trees that just go for like miles into the distance, and it's like what the. But it's yeah. I mean that show is really funny. I just thought that the music was fine, but for a show like that, I just felt like it needed to be stronger. Um,
you're also talking about there's a lot to be desired from uh Japanese music anime. So it's very, it depends on your taste is the best way I can put it. One of the more popular ones is K-On! And that like is I K-On's a classic, but at the same time, there's certain aspects of that thing I hate.
mm,
I specifically dislike the main character so very much because she's just a bumbling idiot who everything happens to land her way, and that just angers me as a person who does not have a lot of luck. She gets
yeah,
like a ten like something like a $10,000 guitar for like $40 or some crap like that, because of the owner of the store or like the company ends up having to be like her friend in the club. They're like, oh wait, that's the president's daughter, and then the president's daughter's trying to haggle. And she's like, can you bring it down? He's like, okay, and like they're like, we did it. They're like, no, no, that's not how that
it's
works.
just like
Uh,
poof. Yeah, it's just a little too easy.
and like she doesn't practice or nothing like that. And she's like, oh, she's pitch perfect. She happens to,
Well,
just be really gifted.
I mean,
And
like
it's
like
just like,
like all that
mm,
like with Bochi, like all of those aspects are great, and the music is fine. It's not bad or anything. I just would have liked to. I don't know. Like the songs are fine, but there's no song in there so far that makes me go, dang, I want to just like listen to that like outside of this anime. Which I feel like if any show's gonna do that, it should be that one. But then again, like, it's kind of, you're gonna have to get lightning in a bottle for stuff like that. You have to pay a lot of money to get someone that's really gonna go out of their way to do that, and or just get kind of lucky that you're gonna find someone who's like got all this inspiration to throw these awesome songs at it, and sometimes it just doesn't quite pan out.
Well, it's also a matter of, like I said, personal taste. 'Cause I know you're not a big fan of, for example, like the idol scene or anything like that. So there's plenty of those that would land flat. But if you're looking for anything rock related, I mean, these are a bunch of girls that aren't necessarily trying to be hardcore. The only thing hardcore is the fact that like her playing style is like really she's really good. But they don't really showcase that enough in the series. So that was one of the things that I was lacking in that front. Now,
I,
I think you would really like Beck, Mongolian Chop Squad. That is a very solid, story about kid learning to play guitar, joining a band, and most of that music is done by Pellos, which are the guys who did the original FLCL, soundtrack. So they are very much an established, you know,
the
um,
pillows are good. Yeah, man.
Japanese punk rock group, and
Yeah.
so yeah,
I mean,
give that one a shot. It's like I want to say it's a longer series. I can't
yeah.
remember off the top of my head if it's like 26 or 24 episodes, but most definitely a really good series.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm pretty familiar with the type of music, and I do enjoy the type of music that they were trying to emulate in Bochi. I'm pretty big into a lot of Japanese rock and stuff like that, J rock and all that, like Radwimps and stuff like that. So it's not that it annoyed me. It's I'm maybe too familiar with it. I don't know, and I'm just like, yeah, this is not bad. But it's also kind of just a boilerplate as far as like, oh, you do the thing, and the lyrics are fine, but you're not really wowing me on melody and stuff. But I'll give that what you call it,
Beck, like
Beck.
the
Okay,
other musician.
yeah,
So
okay,
it's Beck, then it's Mongolian Chop Squad is
Beck
the
Mongolian Joshua.
subtitle,
Okay.
so they don't get sued. Uh,
Yeah, maybe
so
I'll give that a try because I did like FLCL and the pillows don't have they don't do everything that I like, but they were pretty dang good, and I would like to see what that was like. But
yeah,
yeah,
I mean, Rad Whips is a little bit different as far as when it comes to. I mean, they got really popular because of Kimi no Nawa, um, and that was their big breakthrough. And now they're doing a U.S. tour right now, actually, or they're about to start their U.S. tour.
well,
And yeah, they're fine, they're good.
I
But
love
I
me
mean,
some Radwimps, dude.
they're they're all right. There's plenty of others out there that are I think a lot better, but as far as
I haven't heard.
they have a few key. Well, I mean, you haven't been into the scene very long. I honestly think.
I
But
challenge you. I challenge you to name. I would actually would like to know what you think of as better Japanese. I guess J rock. I guess we'll just limit it to that because I would like to hear it.
Mr. Children, for one, most of his stuff is far beyond. Bump of Chicken. They are a staple. They've been forever.
They're
They actually have. Or they had. I'm not sure if they still have the Guinness Book of World Records for number one top charting the songs that hit number one. And yeah,
actually they were
they've
okay.
probably done more anime soundtracks than anyone else. Um, but yeah, um, I was never big into Lark Seal, but a lot of people like them. They had their moment in the early 2000s. They don't get me wrong; they have a couple solid songs, but at the same time, I think it's because some of those songs have just been played to death.
Hmm.
Um, but once again, it's like Rad Whips is good, but Unison Square Garden is right up that alley too. You have was it uh 9 millimeter Parabellum. They're a good harder J rock. I mean, yeah, there's plenty of them. So I mean, just go outside your wheelhouse a little bit more, and but they're all YouTube ready. So they're like the US YouTube, which is actually the surprising part because for the longest time that stuff was isolated behind the most difficult way to get it. You couldn't
You
get
just
any
had
of that
to
stuff.
you had to torrent it pretty much. You had to go
Yeah,
find it
you
in
can't get it like now you can get
back
that stuff
sites.
more easily on like Apple Music and stuff like that, but before you couldn't get any of that stuff. You had to have specific Japanese accounts for everything.
Yeah.
So, also a good way to experiment a lot of different ones, as weird as it is Taiko Drum Master. That will
Yeah.
actually play different versions. Like if you have like the Switch or is different from like PlayStation and Xbox. But yeah, you'll hear a bunch of different songs there, and it's actually a pretty easy way to expose to a lot of other stuff. Yeah, it's the most basic 101 way to get it. Back in the day, if you want to dance or electronic, DDR was also that gateway. So it's kind of like the video games are actually a quick answer.
Yeah, yeah, that is a good way to jump through a lot of that stuff because they're picking out good fun stuff to give you an idea
Also,
of what's going on.
I was gonna say, Kinky Kids is also a good one. They're
Kinky kids.
Kinky being from the Osaka region, not because they're down and freaky. They probably are, but I mean, yeah, they for Osaka area had to change their university from Kinky University.
Oh, really?
So yeah, but
Come
I remember
on,
they did that
man.
like that happened like a handful of years ago,
That's
like
too
maybe literally
bad.
like 3 to 5, and I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me.
You got to
I
lean
mean,
into
how
that.
great would that have been to have your like diploma just say I graduated from Kinky U, you know?
Kiki, yeah. That's see, if that was an American school, they would just lean into it. They'd be like, "Nope, this is our history. We don't care." Oh, that's too bad. Well, yeah, okay. I'm gonna try some of those bands out. I have heard a good bit of Bump of Chicken. Um, they definitely have some good stuff, and for them, there's some other bands that I used to listen to a lot when I was in college. That did, gosh, who did the Bleach opening theme or ending theme? Um,
Depends on which one because they've had so many. Bleach went on forever.
it was one of
So
the
I mean,
early ones. It was one of the anyway. It was one of the famous ones. Anyway, but there's yeah, man. There's a pretty good amount of good J rock, and I recently got back into like I don't know. I guess you'd call it like Japanese folk. There's some girls that can rock, man. There's some girls that are you can tell they're sad and they can sing well and they have like good guitars. I'm like, dang, this is pretty good. But yeah, anyway, I didn't mean to steer the cast into a music podcast, but here we are. So I guess we're pretty much done with anime. Anything else that you want to bring up as far as the anime that you have watched?
no, man. I mean, the solid ones are still there. Still having a good time with, like, uh, was it Iramakun, season 3? That's still a really solid one. You have the snow guy and the cool coworker.
Yeah,
That's super enjoyable still. But yeah, totally you should catch up with Nagatoro. It's totally worth just binging through that. You should probably end up watching last season's was it the my dress up darling. You should probably get to that one too. Now that you're starting to develop the thicker skin and you'll be less flustered.
I've already watched My Dress Up Darling.
Did you finish the whole thing? Oh, okay,
Yes,
then that's my bad.
yeah, it is your bad.
Yeah.
I think I told you about that. No,
Yeah. I just assumed you just watch it through your peeking eyes, like
oh yeah, I did have to. I did have to wait till mommy went to sleep before I could watch that one. Uh,
uh
but
all right.
that's
Well,
a good one
that's
too. Yeah, I can't wait for the second season of that. But yeah, so I think that's gonna do it for us here today. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you next time.
okay. Thanks guys. Take it easy.
Bye.